Okay, this video is called Why Are Christians So Weak? Because when I look out at events in society, what I see is the power and influence of Christians just rapidly diminishing. It's the biggest religious group in the world. It's the biggest group of people in the world, yet they keep diminishing and diminishing. And the reason I believe that is because big money wants to, you-know-what side the Christians. Get rid of them, okay? It doesn't like them because Christianity promotes freedom. They don't want that. They want to bring back slavery and they want to reduce the numbers of the population. Okay, so that's why there's downward pressure on Christianity. But the point of this talk is that the Christians don't do much to help themselves, okay? Most of them are functional illiterates. I realize the Christians that watch my channel tend to be the smart ones, okay? That's great. But I'm still making an overall point, an observation. They're basically oblivious to their own you-know-what side, okay? That's what's happening all over the world. The Christian countries are being you-know-what sided. This is well known. Take a look at Italy. Take a look at France. Take a look at USA. Take a look at Canada. Take a look at Australia, New Zealand. It's the same in all of them in Ireland. It's all the same thing. And it's all happening because big money wants it to happen. But then I see how the Christians behave. And don't get me wrong, a lot of them have done good things as individuals. But in general, they don't do much. They don't help each other much. They don't realize they're all kind of in this together. Okay, and they run into a lot of jealousy. I'll just give you some examples. There were some doctors, friends of my wife, who knew about me writing books on nutrition and other subjects. And instead of being like enthusiastic to take a look at them, they were so jealous. You know, stuff like, well, if I had grown up in the United States, I could have gone to Harvard too. That they refuse to look at my books, okay? And I've run into a lot of this. Don't get me wrong, I've had lots of doctor friends. They love my books. They tell me they're the funniest, best medical books ever written. But I'm also saying is, you know, I see other cultures, somebody will write a medical book, and the book will be a piece of crap. But that other ethnic group, they'll write tons of reviews saying the book is great. They'll support that author. They have like an ethnic consciousness for their religion or their group or whatever it is, okay? And then I also see Christians tend to be particularly vulnerable to brainwashing nonsense in public schools and mainstream media. It's all a bunch of crap. All of this stuff is a gaslighting, fake, cow, you-know-what, moon, you-know-what, east technique to just get rid of Christianity. Because the idea of big money is once the Christians are out of the way, they think everybody else is weak and stupid. They figure the Christians are the real obstacle to bringing back slavery. Once the Christians are out of the way, it'll be easy to bring back slavery. Okay, that's how they think. That's how big money thinks, and it's pretty obvious if you've actually studied it. The other thing I'll see all these Christian YouTube channels, and they love having Jordan Peterson on their channel. Have you ever studied Jordan Peterson? Take a close look at Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson, I will tell you this right now, is a hardcore communist, okay? He was associated with communist organizations in the past, and I believe he's still probably, I'm just guessing, but he probably is covertly. Yes, in some ways he's brilliant. He's brilliant on a lot of psychology stuff, and he'll say a couple clever things, and that makes him appealing. You're like, well, gee, this guy has some useful things to say. I'll listen to him. But when you continue to listen to him, you will see he's always promoting communism. He says communism is bad, but he constantly promotes it. And then he says stuff that is just 100% false. He tells everybody they should be eating a meat diet. He's constantly pushing people towards taking psychiatric drugs. He says things like he doesn't sleep for days and days and days. It sounds like total nonsense. He says that he's addicted, you know, he was addicted to all these benzodiazepine anti-anxiety medicines. What I'm trying to say is, this is a common trick on the internet. Somebody will, you know, tell you the truth about 70% of the time to try to get you to buy their 30% of BS that is harmful to you, okay? But what I'm making the point is, you know, I'm a real Christian. I've, you know, written an entire book on Christian art. Not a single Christian YouTube channel has ever offered to interview me. Not one. Never, okay? I'm trying to do my best with this little tiny YouTube channel to promote civilization, literature, art, and Christian values, Bible-based values, because I think without them, we're screwed. I know what's coming, and it's not good. I saw what happened in Russia in the 1900s. That's what's coming to the United States if people don't say, hey, we want freedom, we want to continue to have Western civilization. And Christians have allowed their civilizations to be degraded. Look at modern art. It's all fake. A child could do it. It's degrading. They got statues of feces in these modern art museums. They're an insult. Okay? And, you know, it was promoted the idea that feminism was to empower women. That is exactly the opposite. The goal of feminism is to bring women back down to slavery, and it's being very successful in that. Like I said, I grew up in the 1970s, and I can tell you, All of my friends, almost every single one of them, over 90% of them, 95% of them about, their parents were married, they had a nice house, and the mom did not need to work. Okay? They were wealthy. You know, my mom, she didn't have to ever work. She just did what she wanted. She had all her hobbies, playing tennis, being a tour guide, things like that. What I'm trying to say is, and they had relatively big families by modern standards, okay? I don't know, probably an average of about 5 kids. And what I see now is these women, the so-called empowered by feminism, they have to work. They're working their butts off trying to earn a salary. More than half of them are divorced. They're kind of miserable. My mom was always happy. She was a joy. She couldn't wait to see us when we'd come home and talk to us. It was a joyful home. What I see now, most of the middle-aged women I know, and I realize my sample set might be a little limited, but they're exhausted. They work all day in a job. They come home. No one cares about the house except them. Then they got to clean up their house. They kind of yell at their kids. How come they didn't help clean the house? If they have any kids, they got, an average of 1.5, 1 to 2, or none. Okay, I've seen tons of these, sort of feminist generation raised women that never got married, never had any children. They're lonely. Women are programmed to be around children, okay? It's just a fact. I mean, that's why women are so good with children. They just get children. They've got a natural personality that's good with children. Men, we love children, but, we're kind of oblivious. We're like busy with our work or our hobbies. We're not that social and personable like women are. So what I'm trying to say is, as far as I can tell, women are much, much worse off. All the middle-aged women I know in comparison with my mom's generation, they're kind of grouchy because they're so exhausted from working all the time. And the reason they're working is because they're poor. Just because you have a job, that doesn't mean you're wealthy. It means that your spouse doesn't make enough money to support you. Okay? Then the other thing is, they can't play sports anymore. They get beat up by transvestite men. That's insane. Men are just physically bigger and stronger than women. Okay? It's just a fact. Everybody knows that. It's ridiculous to pretend that's not true. They got transvestite men in their bathrooms, okay, and that's a potentially very dangerous thing for women. Their children go to school and they get drugged. This stuff about boys needing amphetamines for attention deficit, it's ridiculous. This is just happens at the modern universities where corrupt professors get paid to sell drugs to children. That's what it is. And why does it happen? Because they don't have a Bible-based worldview. They hate these kids. With atheistic Darwinism, these kids are just talking monkeys. Who cares about them? So let's rip them off and sell them drugs, okay? The children are being drugged through their food, through their water, through personal care products with estrogenic chemicals, and then they get confused about their gender. If they say that out loud in a public school, gender-affirming surgery, they castrate them, okay? They're giving puberty-blocking drugs. It's insane. This is so crazy, it's not even funny. Why don't people speak up about it, And I think part of it is because all these moms are working, so they don't really have close supervision of their children. It's ridiculous. If somebody told my mom they were going to give her kid amphetamines or castrate the kid, she would have gone, apeshit bananas, okay? She would not have accepted that. The public schools, then they brainwash kids and they have crazy stuff like Drag Queen Story Day. Leave the kids alone. That's insane. It's insane. This is so insane, it's not even funny. Also, like I said, I write an art book. Virtually nobody will write a review about it. No one will interview my book. I can tell you in real life, people love this book. Whenever I have if I ever have somebody come over, like friends of the family, whoever that might be, they all want to see my art book. Most of them could care less about my medical books, except a few of the smartest of the doctors. The high IQ doctors want to see it. The doctors from that are really smart, they want to see it. But the rest of them, no one else cares. And then other things I see is on the internet. They celebrate all these like high-fat phonies and other bogus liars that sell them, fat and junk that make them sick. It's sort of like, get with it, okay, you guys. You're going down in a societal point of view. And I remember, I read a lot of these books about the Renaissance and history and stuff, and they would say things like, you can tell which direction a family's going by the marriages, okay? If the children marry well, the family is growing in its power. Because they were very interested in that, the Renaissance families, for example, in the 1500s and stuff. And the families wanted their own dynasty, their own line to continue and be successful. And they basically said, if the families married well, you could see they were going up and had a lot of children. If they did not marry well, didn't have children, they were going down. And so what I'm trying to say is, you might think that is self-centered, but there was some sense to it. It's nice to have children. It's nice to have grandchildren, but you have to value them. I think the women are sort of being brainwashed into thinking that their career is what really matters, even though their employer would fire them in 2 seconds and not even care. Have already hired somebody before they fire them and not even care 2 cents about them. Whereas to their family, they're the most important. Mama's the most important person in the whole family because she kind of sets the tone of the house and runs everything. She kind of controls her husband, controls the kids. So mamas are super important in the family. Whereas, the women in the workplace, she's just another employee, nothing special at all. So anyways, I just say this because, I think Christianity has brought tons of great stuff to the world. It's contributed more to the world than any other cultural thing. Nothing's even close to it in terms of its contributions to better behavior in society, better art, better literature, better sculpture, better architecture, better charities, better universities, etc. Look at Harvard. It was sort of a religious founded university, almost amongst Puritans. And it was great, like one of the best in the world. And now that it's become atheistic Darwinism, it's an embarrassment. So anyways, for what that's worth, I hope it's helpful to somebody.